So it's time to talk about Balagan. Actually, it's time to talk about what Balagan means. It's time to talk about what Balagan is. And a lot of people have been asking me, David, you've been using the term, I mean, this is your trademark. Please give us an explanation of what Balagan actually means. So what we're going to do today is we're going to explain what Balagan means. We're going to make a couple of connections to it. We'll explain the significance of Balagan, and we'll give a couple of examples of I think one of the more important or the more dangerous Balagans that are going on right now. And I was looking for somebody to explain Balagan and kind of give it a nice definition because I could read it out of the dictionary, but I found somebody who does this much better than I do. Well, she's also prettier than I am, more articulate than I am, and she's also the mother of Luke Skywalker. So she probably knows what she's talking about. Natalie Portman, if you don't know, was raised in Israel, and here she's trying to explain to us what a Balagan actually means.
Balagan is a great one, kind of the first word that people learn when they move to Israel, and it means a mess. And it comes from the same root as balcony, because balconies were like where you like threw your clothes and dirty rags and stuff, and it would be like a mess. And so it's the same.
So that's kind of cool. I mean, think about that, Natalie Portman herself. But Balagan means mix up, mess up, chaos, things that don't go according to plan. There's military terminology that I don't want to use here, but you got the idea. And it's completely contextual. I mean, a Balagan can be what's on the floor of my son's room when he would go back to the army and his mom would walk up and, yell, what's this Balagan? It could be the way your living room looks after a Super Bowl party. It could be, or here's one of my Balagans, making a mistake between the AM and PM on the time of your flight and reaching the airport and realizing that the flight had left 12 hours before that. That's a Balagan. But I was looking for the understanding. Where does the word Balagan come from? Where does it connect to? And one of the things I was looking for is there any relevance or any reference to Balagan in the Bible? And it turns out that not directly, but even this is a Balagan. And this is a verse that most of you probably recognize. And it goes like this. I'm in Genesis 1, verse 1. And it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. That's the New King James translation. Here's the thing. If you understand Hebrew, it's a little bit different. And I'm going to read it in Hebrew and we'll see if I can explain. בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ, והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו. Tohu vahavohu basically doesn't really mean without shape. It means mix up, mess up, without form. But it doesn't mean formless. It doesn't mean there is nothing formed in. And tohu vahavohu is synonymous to Balagan. So if you want to get an understanding, you get an idea, that's where the term comes from. But originally, it doesn't come from the Bible. It doesn't come from Hebrew, by the way. It actually comes from Persian. And the term in Persian actually is balachana or bala, which means upper balcony. It means the little wooden room. It means the side room where you put things that you don't really need. It means the little balcony, and by the way, the English word balcony comes from the same root as Balagan. It means sideshow, the lady with the beard and the guy shooting the fire. I mean, that is the Balagan. And from ancient Persian, it got incorporated into Russian and Turkish. And Russian means carousel or part of the circus. It also means the side room. It turns out that in ancient Spanish, some kind of version of Spanish, I think somebody kind of called it Tiglado Spanish. It also means mix up or mess up. It turns out that in Polish it means the same, but we get the word Balagan from the Yiddish. Yiddish is a mixture of Hebrew and German a Balagan of Hebrew and German that Jews in Eastern Europe would speak. And in Yiddish, again, it means snafu, it means mix-up, it means all of those things. And from Yiddish, it gets incorporated into Hebrew to mean everything, the richness of what we're talking about. A balagan can be a big balagan, it could be a little balagan, it could be a local balagan, it could be a serious balagan. And it's got a beautiful, beautiful connotation. By the way, not completely negative. For instance, we just now celebrated Purim. Purim is a party, and the party can be a great balagan. We had a great time. I mean, people were dancing and kind of mixed up. And that is basically what a balagan means. Again, completely contextual, and let's put some context into the balagan that's going on right now. Because in the past I used to use the example of a big balagan. People ask me, okay, what's a big balagan? I would say Iran shooting rockets at us would be a big balagan. Today I'm going to call what happened on the 7th of October a big balagan. It changed everything. And as a result of that, I think we are now in a different kind of balagan. And I want to stress something about the balagan today because I think it's important to what we're talking about. There's a very, very serious balagan going on here in connection to what happened on the 7th of October. What's relevant to this is that there's a balagan in our relationship, in the relationship between the United States and Israel today. And to understand that, you have to understand that the main issues that we're dealing with right now is Israel is still fighting a horrific battle with an enemy that is using its own civilian population as human sandbags. The Hamas wants to die fighting in a holy war in the name of Allah, and they're willing to go all the way with all of this. The left, the woke, the progressive elements in the United States and in the Western world have connected somehow in a weird balagan way to the jihadi, Islamic, militant aspects of the Middle East. And the Biden administration, which is a big balagan in itself, is being managed by a president who has a problem walking up a flight of stairs, not to say dealing with the complexities of a very complex issue in the Middle East, and wants to be reelected and feels that he needs the voice of the woke, the progressive, the pro-Arabs in order to be reelected. Not that he's going to survive the next 4 years of election if he is, but he needs to get the right person in place there. And here's what I find fascinating about the whole thing, to mix it in together, is Iran, which is the main puppeteer of everything that's happening in the Middle East. And I'm not surprised, or the Balagan connection for today is the fact that the word Balagan literally comes from Iran. It comes from Persia or comes from there. They invented it, and they are kind of running the show. It's a serious Balagan. And what's happening is that all the different aspects are coming to head. Israel isn't finished with what's going on in Gaza, and the United States, because of its political issues, is putting huge amounts of pressure on Israel to stop fighting the Hamas and reach some kind of ceasefire, even though a ceasefire will mean a win or a victory for the Hamas, because the Hamas only needs to survive. Iran, in the meantime, has threatened Israel, but hasn't really pulled off all the stops. So we're in this waiting session to see what's going to happen. And I feel that the next week or two are going to be very, very critical for the whole situation that we're dealing with. Israel might back down, and it's hard for me to say that, and reach some kind of an agreement and finish this war because of pressure from outside forces or from the Middle East. And this is the balagan that we are all in right now. And I'm going to say something that I think is really important to put this all in context. Israel, Iran, the Middle East, your politics, my politics, balagan all over the place. There's one place where there's no balagan, and that is God's plan. No matter how much the Balagan is for us, no matter how complex it is for us, with God there is no Balagan. The only thing that we need to do is line up to God's plan. And I kind of came to explain what a Balagan is, but while I was doing this, I realized that thank you that there's one area in the world, in my life, in everything that happens with us, that there is no Balagan, and that is with God. And that, I think, is the Balagan connection for today. I wanted to share with you two things about what's going on. We are headed back to Israel in about 2 weeks, so pray for us. I will try to kind of share that experience with you as much as possible. Send comments or requests if you want, and push me that, because I'm not used to kind of walking around with the selfie stick, but I think that maybe that's what needs to be done now in order to show everybody what's going on in Israel. We're going to be there for about a month and a half. There's going to be at least one tour that I'm going to be doing, so I will try to share at least part of that with you, and then other things that we were doing there. So pray for us, pray for us going back to Israel, and pray for the Balagan that's going on all over the world. This is DaviD TaL. This is a Balagan connection. Listen, I really, in order for this to grow, in order for YouTube to monetize it, and as much as possible, because lately they haven't been, I need you to like, subscribe, and share as much of the Balagan connection as you can to other places. In the comments, there's a link if you want to go in and support Gijon Springs. That's a ministry that I've been working with, and support us directly. You can go through the Gijon Springs website. There's a place to support the Balagan connection. We really do need your support. I've got one group out of all of the groups that were planned for this year, and that is going to be a very interesting, that's going to be another Balagan in itself. Hope to see you soon.